it's Tony from Cassette come back. So you're looking at my floor again, and if you remember the last video, it's because I have something else to unbox and show you. Now this is an important one. Now again, Philips started out with a mono cassette recorder, the shoebox, and then we went to mono like boom boxes, then to stereo. Then what was the next evolution that we haven't seen yet? But the next evolution of the boombox, the evolution of cassettes, it's this. It's a double cassette deck. The next evolution, the double boombox. They're making them. Oh, so let's open it up and have a look at the gloriousness that is this Panda. Now, I previously bought a Panda portable cassette player, and the video's up here if you want to look at it. Bing. So let's have a look at this one. Oh look, you've got a plectrum made out of cardboard there. So this is a Panda F-539. So let's have a look at this bad boy. Here it is in all its glory. Look at that. It's a double. It's got a play deck and a play record deck. Oh yeah. It's got two sets of controls at the top. Of course it's got USB and trans flash, well, micro SD card. Buttons I don't understand, but it doesn't matter because it's got an A deck and a B deck. It's a double cassette player with a Sony type rip-off symbol on it. That doesn't matter. Right, good, that's the unboxing bit. Let's have a play now and go through how good or crap this is. Okay, so we'll start out with the box first. Yeah, language repeater recorder. Dual card cassette tape playback stereo. Manual transcription between tape and USB and TF cards, so that means you can copy from one to the other. One button recording, USB through microphone or external microphone, 3-band radio, FM, medium wave, shortwave, USB and micro SD card socket, support MP3 and quick normal AB overdub. Quick normal AB overdub. Ooh, does this mean what I think it could mean? Let's have a look at the top of the deck. So let's have a see. Ooh, go away. So here's the top of the deck. So we've got play music, repeat. It doesn't know what that is. Compared. That's the regular volume. That's a microphone volume, microphone socket. That's the TF. Feature selection. USB TF, one radio, tape shutdown. Okay, so it must mean if you're on the tape selector it powers off, but other than that, normal stuff. Going back to that picture again. Right, the next one, let's have a look. Yes, do you see that? Fast normal speed. Yeah, so that means this does, that does the most aces of boombox thing. High speed dubbing. Oh yeah, it does high speed dubbing. Oh, fantastic. So yeah, band selection, well, it's not got it, but FM, AM and medium wave. GTI, I have no clue what that means, but I'm taking it. That's the radio tuning knob. And again, all the regular cassette transport stuff. And these are recording, previous song, next song, play, pause. So that must be for when you've got stuff plugged into the USB. Okay, so this is a Panda digital repeater, dual cassette. Yeah, digital repeater. Yeah, I don't know what that means. Okay, so this is the documentation that comes with it. You got a warranty card, which, yeah, within 1 year of purchase, if any component is damaged, nobly repaired free of charge. Yeah, I'm sending it back to China if there's something wrong with it, honest. Oh, customer service hotlines in Beijing, Xinjiang, yeah, China only. Because again, you can tell because everything is just in Chinese. This is not designed for export. It might get exported under another name, but I've got to be honest with you, I've never seen like the other Panda products I've seen exported under different names. They seem that Panda is clearly just for China. So, multifunctional language repeater. Do you think this is because they keep trying to sell these as useful for language students to listen to tapes? But anyhow, karaoke function, yeah. USB TF card and tape transcribe each other, so that means you can record to USB and you can record from USB to tape if you want to. Oh yeah, so these are all the buttons. Pause it if you want to look and have a real look. I'm not going to read through all of that. And again, this one, if you really want to have a read of what's here, just pause it and go through this badly translated page. This is the thing, repeat button function operation. In the repeater state, press the playback key to enter very manual repeat. Press repeat button to enter repeat state. Oh, you know something. This is a cassette channel. I don't care about being able to repeat and sample stuff on a deck using a TF card or a USB disk. If you want to read that, read it yourself. And all right, okay. So let's have a look. USB output. So it outputs 5 volts if you want to use it as a charger, I guess. But yeah, 220 volt, 50 hertz, because that's what Chinese is. 9 volt DC, FM medium wave shortwave, rod antenna, trumpet, 3-inch, €6. Sounds like a bargain if you're in Amsterdam. That anyway, 5 watts times 2. At least that seems honest. Rated power 5 watts. Recording compression ratio TF 128 BT. Audio playback 100 to 10,000 hertz. So that's better than the other Boombox, which I reviewed the other week, because that wasn't that good. Test speed 4.7 centimeters a second. Yeah, that's it. Repeat time tape 200 seconds. U-disc AB repeat mode. Yeah. Stereo separation 40 decibels. Okay. Approximately 2 kilograms without a battery. All right, so there we go. That is all the details of the cassette deck. So let's get back and actually have a look at the damn thing. So there we go, and the big shock for me was, well, it's got high-speed dubbing. It's not just a twin deck, it's got high-speed dubbing as well, which is, yeah. Like I say, I said it in the last video, I say it in this one. This isn't about saying, oh, China's made an amazing sounding cassette. It's not. This isn't going to sound good, but it's progress. You can't jump to the top of the mountain. There's a lot of steps to get there. And it's showing progress. So let's see how much progress this actually is. So the first thing I want to do is just give you a little tour. I mean, like I say, we've seen it in the instruction manual, all these incomprehensible buttons. Well, we can make out what the cassette ones are, but all these other buttons. Let's have a little play. That's the important one. I remember that one being the normal speed and high speed dubbing switch, and that's the radio controls, and that's between the USB and the radio on the cassette deck. That's where you put the USB, and the micro SD, that's your microphone input. That's the volume for the microphone, which I ain't going to be using. That's the volume, and that's all these funky controls and stuff, which didn't make any sense to me in the instruction manual, but we'll see if they do when we're actually playing with it. So yeah, so it's kind of understated. I mean, not being funny, it is very Sony-esque. It's understated, it's minimalist, it's flat. It's quite a nice design. It's not going for anything absurdly retro like the last one did. It's just trying to be contemporary. I mean, yeah, could do without the karaoke on there, because yeah, and even though it doesn't look like this is printed on straight. But let's have a look around the side. What we've got around the side, very simply, got the input, and it's just a direct, I think it's just direct AC, but it's the AC input there, and the AC input's there. That's a headphone socket. Again, because this is a Chinese domestic market one, it's kind of handy for us in Britain, because it does take AC to 2050 hertz, because that is the voltage in China. So it goes straight in there. I'm looking for this DC input, because it says DC 9 volts, but I'm looking and I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing a DC input. There's nothing on the other side. So where is this? Yeah, I can't see this DC input that they're talking about. Anyway, let's open the back up because you can put batteries in. It takes 6 D cells in there, which I'm never going to use. But yeah, it's kind of strange that whether it's just a generic label, because they're just screw holes. And like I say, we've got an AC input on the side, but that's it. I can't see anywhere to put a wall wart in to give it 9 volt to play. I really can't. So I don't know whether that's an oversight on the sticker, just a generic oversight or what, but yeah, that's yeah. Okay, so let's get some stuff out of the way before we begin. I'm going to be a bit more prepared this time. I'm going to the thing I'm going to do is demagnetize the heads with my electronic demagnetizing cassette. Now, I'll be honest with you, I do not know if these things are snake oil or not. But all I will say is they've never affected a deck negatively when I've used it, apart from, well, if you turn it on with the volume up, it'll make a loud bang and blow your speakers. But other than that, I can't say that I've ever had any negative things happen with that. So I've got one, I'll use it, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but it can't hurt. Okay, next thing is, just bear with me 1 secondo, por favor. 400 hertz tape out, and let's see how accurate or inaccurate this is. Okay, 403 on that side. And a bit more accurate on deck 2, which is a recording deck, but otherwise, yeah, not bad at all. Pretty much there. Okay, now this is the important one. The left-right test. Are these A, going to be stereo heads, and B, have they been wired round the right way? Let's find out. Come on, come on. It would help if I pressed the play button instead of the rewind button, really, wouldn't it?
Left channel. Right channel.
Hooray! So at least deck 1 is a stereo head and it's wired the right way around. Let's try deck 2. Please let this be stereo as well.
Right channel. Left channel.
Okay, well, it's not all good news because yes, on the one hand, both decks appear to be stereo heads, and they're wired the wrong way around. Unfortunately, I don't know if you can tell from that little demo, but this speaker seems faulty. A lot of low-end distortion on that. A lot of low-end distortion. Oh well. Right, I guess we should continue on anyway with the functions. Right, next thing to check is the TF playback, or hang on, I've dropped my key. Back of my head. Right, let's try the playback from a USB.
Left channel. Right channel. Left channel.
So it's definitely stereo, but as you can probably tell there again, this speaker is very distorted and probably broken. Okay, let's try a bit of music. Let's see what music sounds like through this. Oh yes, very, very distorted there. All right, that's pretty horrible. I don't think it's because the playback itself is horrible. It's just this distorted speaker is just distorting absolutely everything. It just sounds crap. But okay, at least it works. There is no Bluetooth on this, however. It is literally just USB or SD card. Okay, I guess the other thing to have let's do is the radio. Let's see if it picks up any radios. Like I said, there's an FM, medium wave and short wave on this. Let's just go to the FM and see what we pick up.
You're an ear specialist.
Well, let's hope so.
I'm an audiologist.
Audiologist is the word.
Audiologist, think you'll find.
I think that was the word I was
Yeah.
scrambling for and failing to reach.
Accident has been reported. Everything I need to know, you need to
Okay, that's probably enough before we get loads of copyright strikes, but yeah, the radio seems to work. It seems to be a decent enough pickup, but again, distorted speaker city, it sounds crappy. So what we'll do next is we'll do like we did in the last video. Is I'm going to actually no, let's just have a little play. I'm going to change my mind. Let's just put this TF back in. Let's go back to TF mode. I want to play with these buttons, like it said like continue, etc. there, and I don't know what they are. Let's have a play. That doesn't seem to do anything. That seems to stop it. Oh, like, it repeats. So if I press it again now, it's going to repeat. Okay, my curiosity to that is sated. It seems to be like a 10-second loop or something on it. Yeah, maybe that's to do with the karaoke features in it, but not something I'd ever use, but there we go. Right, so what we're going to do, first things first, is I'm going to play this back in deck A and record the output. This was recorded on my CR7, so let's see how it plays back a well-recorded cassette. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to then put this track back on the USB key, put it in the top, and then record it onto this Maxell UR 1985 vintage, because, well, that's kind of what I would have used in my boombox in them days. And I'm going to record it on deck B, and then I'm going to play it back from deck B. Put them all into Audacity, and we'll compare what the original source, what the CR7 recorded cassette plays like, and what the one it records itself plays like. So let's have a listen. So as per last time, we've got 3 audio files here, and I'll label them up again. But the top one is the original track. This one here is the cassette that was recorded on my CR7 onto the TDK FE that has been played back through deck number 1 of the Panda Boombox. This track here is basically the original track being played through USB and then being recorded onto the Max LUR in deck 2 of the Panda Boombox and then played back. All of these have been captured from the headphone output onto my Sony PCM recorder. So as per last time, I'm going to go through them one by one by one so we can hear the differences. Again, like I say, there is some problems with the speed not matching perfectly, so there'll be little skips and jumps, but that's not the point. The point is for you to be able to hear the difference between the original track, a well-recorded cassette played back in one of the decks, and what a recording that the actual boombox itself made sounds like played back through one of its decks. Okay, so we'll solo the top one. We'll start about here because the beats start kicking in. Let's have a listen. Okay, we'll stop it there. So, thoughts. This, which is the recording, which is a playback of the cassette recorded on the CR7, I thought it sounded very good. I mean, what you can't tell unless you're listening to the parts where there's no sound. I mean, for example, if I was recording classical piano music on this, it'd be a bit different, is that there is electrical hum. There is a constant electrical hum, be it through the MP3 playback, through the USB port, but there is a constant hum as well when you're playing cassettes back. But of course, you sort of can't hear it, especially with this type of music, when you're listening to the actual music playing. But I thought that this playback was very acceptable. I genuinely did. It's a very acceptable playback. It's stereo. It seemed to have the right speed. It seems like there's a little wow and fluttery on it, but the truth of the matter is the actual original track has sort of like that fake wow and flutter effect on the arpeggio in the background. You know, the one that goes that has a bit of wow and flutter artificially on it. But like I say, this sounded very good. Well, not very good, but certainly better than I thought it was going to sound. Put it that way. Now, this one, which is the recording from the USB drive on the deck and then playback on the deck, this sounded a lot better than the recording which that other boombox I reviewed last week did. This did sound a lot better. There's stereo separation there. It wasn't massively auto-gained to drown it out. In fact, it was quite quiet. That's surprising. That actually in reality sounds a lot better than I thought it would. And like I say, it certainly sounds better than it did in that boombox I tested last week, even though I think that had just as good playback. So, yeah, it's just a shame that speaker's distorted, because through the headphone socket, this actually sounds kind of acceptable, and the recording isn't as tragically bad, even as the other boombox that I tested last week. So what did you make of that? Now, that boombox from last week, I thought did a good job of playing back, but it didn't do such a great job of recording. This has got two stereo cassette decks in it that both played back all right. I mean, compared to what my expectations were, they actually exceeded my expectations. The highs were there, the bass was there. Yes, there's the motor noise, but considering that this doesn't have any sort of noise reduction on it, I thought it played back really well. And on top of that, this deck recorded in stereo with separation to a point where it was listenable. No, it's not even as good as the most basic hi-fi deck. And no, it's not even as close to your amazing from the time high, ranking boomboxes from good makes. But again, all this is about progression. I'm not trying to sell these. And I'm not trying to say, oh, there's back, we've got the bait. It's progression. You can't jump to the top of the mountain. It takes a lot of steps. And this really has impressed me so far. The cassette part of it. Anyway, the radio side's fine, the TAF side, USB side's fine. But I bet you're saying now, yeah, Tony, but come on, you went on about the high-speed dubbing earlier and how it was one of the main reasons you used your boombox back in the day, and you're right. But I'm not going to make you listen to a high-speed dubbed tape recording because I'm not that much of a masochist, because we all know that high-speed dubbing, it was just worse than regular speed dubbing, which wasn't amazing to begin with. However, why did I use it so much for that back in the day? I'll tell you. It's because of these. You see, here, at least in Europe, maybe in America, not so much because you had drives, but here in the UK, most of our 8-bit computer software was distributed on cassette. And this particular one is my most prized cassette because this is my original copy, which I got with my Commodore 64 in 1984. So let's see if this can do what I mainly used my deck for, which was rattling off copies of games. I'm going to put it onto, oops, let's find the right button, onto one of these BASFs. You see, I recorded music on the hi-fi we had downstairs because I could tell that was just better. My boombox, I played stuff in my room, listened to the radio, but mostly I rattled off cassettes for friends from computer games. So I'm going to put this into high-speed mode, and we're going to see if this can actually duplicate a cassette, high speed for the Commodore 64, that I can actually load in a Commodore 64. Let's see if it can just push it over the edge for me. Okay, let's leave that running for about a minute and a half. Let's see what the results come back at. Okay, so here we have my beloved Commodore 64 Bread Bin. Here's the cassette we've just dubbed. I'm going to get this in there with one hand because I've got the other hand on the camcorder. Oh, stupid deck. Right, hang on. There we go. Right. It's in. Okay, shift run stop. Press play on tape. And let's see how we get on. Because, you know, just while we're waiting for it to load, because I'm going to do the full load on this. I'm going to make you sit here for 2.5 minutes just to prove I didn't do a cassette switch midway or anything. Found main, goody gumdrops. But yeah, I love the Commodore 64. Always have. I got mine on Christmas Day 1984, and I got Ghostbusters, Impossible Mission, and Choplifter as my first games, but Ghostbusters was the one I played the most. I mean, I had the Ghostbusters sweater. I think everyone had that grey Ghostbusters sweater in 1984-85, didn't we? I love the film, love the tune. I bought it on single, and I love the game. Yeah, it's possibly, oh, we're looking good, we're looking good. Could be my favourite game of all time. It's such a simple game, but the playability is there, and it just never gets old. And that's the thing, I have the C64. But I don't know, it leaves me a bit cold. I mean, I guess because I'm a big cassette man as well, I love getting games back onto cassette. I've sort of spent a while perfecting the method of taking tap files from the internet and getting them recorded onto cassettes to play back in the 64. And the 64 was a bit harder to do it for than, say the Spectrum, because you can't actually hear it loading, so you don't know if your azimuth is off or if it's been recorded badly. You just get to see it. But I've actually got very good. There's only one game that I can't get back onto cassette, which is sanctioned by Thalamus, but the rest 100% hit ratio now. If you're interested in me doing a video on how to get Commodore 64 games from a tap file you download from the internet onto actually a cassette, let me know. I mean, it'll be a bit of a laboured video and utterly boring for those who aren't interested, but it's something, you know, maybe that's worth doing a video on. But yeah, this seems to be loading nicely. And like I say, I had the 64 and it just left me cold. I might as well have got, in fact, I think it's called BCM. It's a bare metal emulator for the Raspberry Pi that just boots straight into C64. Has scan lines, has proper 4:3 screen, looks fantastic, especially on a monitor like this. I don't normally use this monitor for playing my C64. I usually use my Sony PVM, but I'm filming in my man cave, so I didn't want to have to lug that downstairs from where it already is. But yeah, we're looking good. We're looking good so far. In fact, the only non-original computer I prefer is the ZX Spectrum Next. I'd rather have the ZX Spectrum Next than any original ZX Spectrum. I just think it's a phenomenal piece of kit. Oh, here we go, the fast loading bars towards the end. This sort of says that it's loaded because it's decompressing now, and it should go into that iconic title screen with the music and the speech. The anticipation. That's what makes them so good. The wait makes a game worth it. Instant games not as gratifying as when you had to wait. And there we go. It's there. Should we play along with the bouncing ball? I don't know if some of you haven't seen this, but such a simple thing, but it was so good. The little bouncing ball with the lyrics. Here it is. I know you're saying get on with the damn video, Tony. Ready? I just got to press the space bar when it comes up. Ready? Well, there we go. Take the cassette. You know, a cheap basic ferric. High speed dubbed. Made a perfect copy of it. And ultimately, that was what I used my Twin Decks cheap boombox for more than anything else. And this one, well, it works for that too.
The truth.
So So this is from an Argos catalogue from 1988. And I'm picking on this item number 13 here, this Bush one here. And the reason I'm picking on it is because it's a double cassette deck and it's a low quality brand. Bush, if you weren't in the UK, same sort of quality as, you know, Alba and Steepletone and Goodman's, you know, bottom of the range, acceptable quality, but it didn't get much cheaper unless you went to a market stall. But even in them days, this, without any MP3 playback, because obviously you didn't do that, was £48.95. Put that into the inflation calculator, works out at about £127.27 in today's money. So the Panda costs £60.54. Yeah, it's got the shipping on top, and then you got the taxes, so it comes in around £97, which is still £30 cheaper in relative terms than the Bush was back in the 80s. And dare I say it, I don't think it plays cassettes any worse than that, nor does it record any worse than that, and has extra features. In fact, I'm just looking, they do a single version of this, which does have Bluetooth built in, but it's only £7 cheaper, so it's up to you whether you fancy... it's got free shipping though. That's a big difference. So £53 shipped, so that's interesting. So £53 if it's stereo, and it looks like a smaller version, just a single deck version of the other Panda. £53 shipped is not a bad do. Not a bad do if it plays as well as the other one did. But anyhow, let's leave the financials now and go to my final thoughts. They say happiness in life comes from having realistic expectations. My expectations of this, compared to the other Panda portable that I bought, was that, well, it's a twin deck that's cheaper than the single deck, which I reviewed in the last video. It's Panda, it's going to be pants. And I keep saying it again, there's nothing more surprising than the surprise. Okay, we've got to take out the equation this Duff speaker. That is just another bleeding annoyance about Chinese lack of quality control, that nobody tested this on the production line. Went, that speaker's a bit knackered. It'll be, nah, it'll be right. Once it's sold, are they going to be bothered trying to return it to us? Even if it was domestic. So, I mean, it is a bit strange considering there was that customer service sheeting with it. But the bottom line is, apart from that, let's look at this in context. We've got two stereo cassette decks that play back all right. No, they don't play back as good as a boombox from the early 80s from a quality make. But then again, this doesn't cost anywhere near that. You know, this is the equivalent of about £100 worth, whereas, you know, so that's like what? £35, and your Conyons and your Victors and all the good stuff costs hundreds of pounds. This does not compare to them because it never would. But again, it's all about context. You know, if you were to say to me, even 15 years ago, that China will make a twin stereo cassette boombox that plays back cassettes as good as, you know, your cheapy twin deck did back in the 80s, that records again as decently as your twin deck did back in the 80s, and also has added functionality like being able to play from USB, has a decent radio. If you were to say that these were going to be made now, 15 years ago, I'd go, no, they're never going to get there, forget about it. But they have. It's progression. I'm not saying that this is an amazing boombox. I'm just saying it's progression. And compared to what I was expecting it to be, this has exceeded my expectations. Think about it. All these young people now buying cassettes. This is what these is for. They're not for you old timers like me that remember the good old days. They get their cassettes from their favourite bands or little independent artists they're supporting. Pop open the deck, pop it in, press play. What do you know? It makes music and it doesn't sound terrible. They have no frame of reference. It's just that it doesn't sound terrible. Listen to it through the headphone jack, and you know what? It doesn't sound that much worse than a low quality MP3. And plus, they can play their media from a USB key as well. All in something that, apart from shipping and handling, you know, if it got over here in bulk, maybe costs 60, 70 quid. And that's what I mean. Don't look at it for what it is. Look at it for what it represents. We're next. We've got these. I'm waiting for the next one to have a CD player built in that will also play MP3s off CDs. Or, God forbid, somebody gets rid of the motor noise. That's my pet hate with these. If they could do something so that the motor noise isn't so intrusive. I mean, it isn't. It's only intrusive when there's no music playing. But if they could get rid of that, make sure the quality control's there so that it doesn't leave the factory with a duff speaker. And in the case of this, maybe bigger speakers, maybe with a separate tweeter, but bigger speakers with a bit more bass, because I didn't point that out, but this doesn't have any sort of EQ or bass control like the other one, and it doesn't have a left-right neither on it. It's just stereo, and that's the way it is, but at least the heads are wired up correctly. But it's not beyond the realms of possibility for them to put better speakers, get rid of the noise by isolating the decks a bit more, and then you've got something that is decent. It will be decent, and it'll come, because the hope I take is because they're not giving up. They're not just still churning out them terrible USB MP3 bleeding Walkmans with a horrific motor noise in them. They're not just churning out mono shoe boxes. They're making double stereo cassette decks with high-speed dubbing that sound decent. And that's what you need to take away from this. Nothing else. So on that note, I shall leave you to it. The next videos won't be on another one of these because I haven't got any more to try, but I'll keep scanning, and if something comes up that looks decent, that looks like progression, rest assured, I'll get it and I'll review it. Next one will probably be on just some quality cassettes in some quality decks for a change. But thanks for watching, happy taping, until next time, bye bye.